Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, California Weather Watch. Today is November 5th. Happy election day to everybody out there. And taking a look at the infrared satellite imagery, you can see this clockwise rotation out here. This is high pressure out over the Pacific Ocean, and then this is going to be building in across the Intermountain West here over the next couple of days, driving some strong offshore winds with it. We're going to take a look at those details. We'll take a look at the extended forecast. As always, it looks like we may become active here across some portions here of the West Coast of North America. And we'll dive into those details here as we go through the video this morning. You can see a pretty good lenticular cloud show going on across some of the Washington and Oregon Cascades, and some of those clouds spreading down across the region here. This is just a different look here at the infrared satellite imagery. This is one that actually will show dust and blowing dust and whatnot. I'm not showing that for a reason right now, but it's kind of an interesting look at things with the big bridge of high pressure off the shoreline right now. Here we go. So a red flag warning. This is Eureka National Weather Service. You can see we're gonna have these gusty winds, gusts to 55 miles per hour. This is 3 p.m. today to 6 a.m. Thursday morning, and of course the rapid fire spreads. Be ready to evacuate at a moment's notice. You guys know the drill. Potential major fire risk coming up here. This was updated here just a little bit ago here, November 5th. And if we look down towards the Bay Area, it looks like since they put out this graphic, this has been extended to include places like Stockton, some of the I-5 corridor as well. And again, strong offshore winds, low relative humidities, and the fire danger. So I also wanted to call attention to this because there's going to be some hazardous seas all the way on and through Wednesday with gale force winds and gusts 35 plus knots, seas 10 to 14 feet. And again, if you're going out there to view the waves, be careful where you are viewing. Watch out for your children and your pets. Don't turn your back on the ocean. Yeah, and more stuff here from the Bay Area. And if we click through here, you can see we have wind advisories for some areas as well. Now, looking down towards Los Angeles, when you see all these colors emerging here across the National Weather Service forecast, you know there's a lot going on. We got high surf advisories, red flag warnings. We have high wind warnings in effect, wind advisories. And we even have a freeze watch there for some of the interior areas. But more on that here in a moment. I do want to zoom in on this and kind of show you that we do have the potential for some very strong winds, some widespread down trees, power outages possible, low relative humidities, and of course some major fire danger. And some of these conditions are going to be going all the way on and through Wednesday or even Thursday evening. Now, taking a look at what is going on just off the surface, about 2,500 feet, relatively speaking anyway, but you can see we got the strong winds down the coastline, and look at some of these north winds and northeast winds ripping down the Sacramento Valley as we go through the day today. And then you can see it coming down to the San Joaquin Valley, the offshore winds across the Bay Area, some of the central coast also. And then look at these winds start to kick up as we go through very late tonight, early tomorrow morning. Some very strong offshore Santa Ana winds, strong northerlies and northeasterlies down across the desert areas. And look at some of these winds coming down the Sacramento Valley also as we go on in through Wednesday morning. Very strong winds. We're going to look at some of the speeds here in a moment, but if you are in one of those wind prone areas for those northeast winds, be prepared because these winds are looking very strong. And of course, if you're like in some places of the Los Angeles metro, the winds are much lighter. So, big changes here as you go small distances between the mountain gaps and whatnot and these offshore winds. And I scroll all the way towards the end of this model run, you can see these windy conditions continue all the way on in through at least Thursday morning coming up, probably on in through the day Thursday as well. So what is driving those winds? So if I put this into motion, here's California where I'm circling right there, and there's Nevada and Oregon. If I put that into motion, you can see the high pressure coming down as we go on in through tonight and tomorrow morning. So of course that drives these offshore winds. You can see this powerful pressure gradient there when we set up this high pressure over the Intermountain West. And when this air mass here, it starts to move over the terrain, it compresses and it heats and it dries out. So by the time it gets out to the coastal areas, it is extremely dry in some of the valley areas as well. So that is why it really drives this fire danger and those strong winds. All it takes is one cigarette or a spark and you can just unleash massive fire. So be very careful out there. It's still fire season here, even in November. And if we take a look at relative humidity percentage, so we're going to scroll through the day today. You can see kind of those north winds and northeast winds start to dry things out for the Sacramento Valley. And then we go on in through tomorrow morning and look at some of these winds just racing off the coastal areas. And we really dry out by the time we go on into the day Wednesday. You can kind of see how that wind just brings that dry air back out over the coastal regions there. So that's what's going to be driving that fire danger, no doubt. Now, looking across Southern California, I zoomed in. You got the Los Angeles Angeles metro here. There's San Diego. And if we put this into motion, this is the accumulated 10-meter max wind gust here. So it's going to capture the max wind gust according to the North American high resolution model. And look at some of these wind speeds just north of Los Angeles metro. And of course, the Santa Ana Gap there. And you can see the much calmer winds across some areas versus gusts well up over 60 miles per hour. And some of the higher terrain could be gusting potentially towards 100 miles per hour, according to the Los Angeles National Weather Service. And I scroll all the way up in through Thursday, and you can see these winds for these given areas. Now, this is the high wind warning out right now. If you need to, you can pause this or read it or go to your National Weather Service local forecast there, and you can see all the locations here, places like Woodland Hills, Malibu Lake. This goes all the way in through 4 p.m. Thursday, and look at this. Isolated gusts to 100 miles per hour are possible. Gusts to 60 to 80 is expected. So damaging winds incoming here. And now we're going to take a look at the extended forecast a bit here. This is the European Artificial Intelligence, last night's run. This is that ridge of high pressure, and then we're building that over the interior for our strong offshore wind event. And then we start to bring some systems potentially in towards the state of California. You can see this pretty chilly upper level trough dropping down. It looks like a bit of an inside slider again, and that one has that same characteristic there. And then we watch this one way off into the extended. This one might be a little bit more interesting here, depending on how far west this trajectory takes it. It could tap some subtropical moisture back up into the state of California. Not holding my breath on that one just yet. We got to get a lot closer before we get too excited about that. But you see, we could have some active weather coming up here, or at least remaining active here, depending on how your take of things. These offshore winds are pretty interesting meteorologically speaking. So if we look at what that would mean in precipitation, of course, in the meantime, we're going to have the offshore winds and no precipitation expected for the state of California, and a fairly robust system. Looks like it might be headed towards the Pacific Northwest. How much of that will clip northern portions? We'll watch this over the next few days, because there is a system likely to come in, and then we drop this trough. You can see potentially a stronger frontal system as we go on in through. This would be about Sunday night, and here I scroll through Monday morning. There's Monday late morning there, and then you can see precipitation potentially all the way down across much of the state of California. Be watching that one as well and see how that trends as we get closer to it. And maybe another frontal system as we go through next week also. And then that trough dropping down the coastline, would have to wait and see what that would bring, still a ways off into the future. But you can see we could have some active weather here for the state of California. And if we look at the 6 to 10 day, this goes November 10th through the 14th. Look at that below average signal here for much of the state and much of the Southwest. Above average signal here, kind of a mixed bag for California, but we'll see how that trends, of course. And then 8 to 14 day, much of the West is below average. Here's the precipitation. Some portions of California are included in that, and a lot of the lower 48, in fact. But anyway, yeah, we will continue to watch this. And again, watch out for these developing winds. Do not be careless out there if you're a smoker or whatnot. You're dragging change behind your vehicle. Don't park on that grass. You guys know the drill. All it takes is a spark to unleash those massive fires. So anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. Click like and subscribe. We're going to break this down all again tomorrow. We'll take a look at some of those wind speeds as they are ongoing, and I will talk to you guys then.